I think attention was drawn to the overprescription of painkillers a few years ago, and I got really interested in the over-the-counter painkillers like paracetamol and Nurofen Plus, because I knew that people who are addicts take pack after pack of Nurofen Plus, because if you take a whole lot of these pills at once, it gives you a buzz. And after I found out that, the government did change the way that these drugs are packaged, these over-the-counter drugs are packaged, and the amount that you can buy at once. But what has happened over the last few years with an ageing population is that the NHS has to deal with people with long-term pain. So we'll all know a relative, an elderly relative, who's on a drug like tramadol, for example, which is, in the morphine family, and they're taking drugs which a few years ago used to be prescribed for about 3 weeks at a time. A course would last a few weeks. Now, I believe the average length of a prescription is at least 3 months. God. And these drugs are highly addictive. And I think that 1 in 11 NHS patients, that's over the whole country, are being prescribed drugs which are highly addictive if they want to stop taking them. And my own experience, after researching paracetamol and Nurofen, I went down to only taking 1 paracetamol when I had to, and I discovered that 1 works just as well as 2. So I'm telling anyone watching this program, just try taking 1 and you'll find it works. But last year, when I had my knee replacement operation, I was in agony and I couldn't sleep at all. And I was at my wit's end. I didn't know what to do, and I was referred to a pain specialist. And initially, I took dihydrocodeine, but I thought it was I felt unhappy about that. It made me feel queasy, and it didn't really agree with me. Then I was on amitriptyline, which is a pill that, if you take it in enough dose, it's mood altering. Then I was put onto pregabalin, which is a drug. There is a huge rise in the number of prescriptions. I think the number of prescriptions for pregabalin has gone up 10 times in 10 years. And it's an epileptic drug, and the side effects of it are euphoria, and it's supposed to make you feel more able to cope with pain. I refused to take tramadol. This went on for about 2 months, and it was me being unable to cope with pain, yes, but also I realised that all these drugs, picking my way through all these drugs was bad news, really bad news. And I just stopped the whole lot. And then I realised I had an absolute realisation that I had to control my own pain, and that I worked out with a trainer, and I did very specific exercises to reshape my muscles around my knee, and I stopped taking sleeping pills, and I managed to stop taking painkillers. Yeah. But I'm saying to anyone watching, really, if you've got a relative or if you know anyone that's been taking a drug like pregabalin or tramadol for longer than 3 weeks, you want to consider what it's doing to their mentality, to their, the long-term effects of it.
Quality of life.
Their quality of life, because I think the NHS has bought... they're just buying time. They're dishing out these prescriptions because they haven't got the time to go through each individual person and listen to their, their aches and pains. And also, we as a population have got to take charge of ourselves a bit more. I know pain is difficult, but we've got to find another way around it that's not these strong medications.
But what I worry about, Janet, and that's so right. You are such a strong person, and you had the mindset to be able to try to fix this problem yourself. You talk about the exercises and everything else, and I worry for people out there that maybe just aren't that strong. And certainly of a certain age, I think when your GP or a doctor says, do you take that, that'll help the pain, you believe your doctor, don't you? You think, well, it's fine, they've told me I can take it, so I can take it. And then suddenly you're 3 months in on tramadol and you can't get off them. And then you're carrying on being prescribed these things. I worry for those people because I don't know what the answer is.
They're not mobile. Yes, I've got a relative, I've got an elderly relative, and she's been taking tramadol for 2 or 3 years. And when I talk to her, I'm aware of the fact she comes in and out of being in the moment, that it's a bit of an uphill struggle. Now, she's in serious pain and she's not mobile, and she's typical of, you know, hundreds of thousands of people in Great Britain. But I worry about
I don't understand it, because I've got a relative. Well, actually, I've got a relative, and I don't understand how she keeps being given these tablets.
Yes.
Because there's nothing wrong with her.
Yeah.
But she's got so that's a carrier bag, that sort of size of pills that are the most important thing in the room. You know, we talk about drugs that are got on the street and the horrors of addiction, and I'm thinking, you're going to a GP, you're being given these things that you don't need. I can also see the coming in and out of sort of any sort of sanity sometimes. And I think, how are we justifying that? And what's it costing? And what's the end of it? What's the point of it?
Why can't people give
Is it
them
just to get people out of the surgery?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, tramadol is so addictive. My dad had a back operation a couple of years ago, and he stopped taking it after a couple of days because he said he could, and he's not an addictive personality, my dad at all, but he could feel himself crossing over into it.
Yeah.
And he said, but the other thing was, it wasn't really helping the pain either. He was just sort of outside looking at it in a really blurred sort of way.
Out.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some comments here. I mean, there's loads of comments here on this. But a lady called Hel says, I'm on cocodamol for arthritis pain. I used to take 6 a day, but weaned myself down to 3. These are very addictive. You do suffer withdrawal symptoms when you run out. Doctors carry on prescribing them with no alternative.
Cocodamol is one of my most hated painkillers, exactly as that lady has said. Well, if you get up to more than 3 a day, coming off them is really, really difficult.
Well, we're talking about having discussions, and as you say, taking control yourself, Janet, if you can, and go to your doctor, and sometimes disagree. Don't be scared to say to your doctor, I don't want to go on that. But Professor Helen Stokes-Lampard, Chair of the Royal College of GPs, said, I don't think we're related, GPs will discuss the risks and benefits of taking opioids with the patient, including the potential for addiction before prescribing. Let's hope that happens. The NHS actually makes it quite difficult for patients to get repeated prescriptions of these pills, but unfortunately they are too easily accessible illicitly.
That's interesting. Because that's not what's being echoed here.
Not
what's
exactly.
being echoed here is that we go to the doctor and they just give it to us because we want it.
And it happens.
That's it.
Exactly. OK. Well, if you're taking strong painkillers and you are worried about anything that we've been discussing today, please consult your doctor before you make any changes, and there'll be lots of things on our website to help you as well.